Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our event. We welcome everybody online. We do have a hybrid event to accommodate those who couldn't make it here in person today, and so we do have guests online as well. So I'm Cora Maguire-Surratt, who's your Water Community Indigenous, Makwadadodam, Nashi, and Shmabek, So I just introduced myself in Ojibwe, which is where I'm from, down by Lake Superior, and I'm from a community called Sandpoint First Nation. And my community was displaced many years ago as the government moved our community and to take over the park. We had very prime land, and so they dislocated the community actually to across the road and displaced us. And the last people that were on our land actually had moved to the garbage dump, and the government still kicked them off even in that place. So going to move forward, and our community has successfully renegotiated the land back, and so the community is slowly returning back to the land and reclaiming our ways of being and knowing it. So that's just a little bit to center on who I am. And I'm also the CEO of the Ontario Women's Association. For me, I'm just one of the leaders. It's just a fancy title for systems like this. So, but for me, it's like about leadership in the organization. And I'm here with the lovely Ingrid Green. I'll let her introduce herself.
Good morning. It's a short line here. We're oh, there's another one there, sorry. So I'm Ingrid Green, Bojo, Gagi Gavikwe, Indigo, Bijou Dodem, Knorr and Duji. So I'm Ingrid Green, I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation at ONWA, and I've been with ONWA for 17 years. It's hard to believe we're the old ladies there now. Because I still feel like a little kid, okay? It just doesn't ever go away. Really happy to be here, really happy to see some familiar faces and some old friends. So happy to be honored to share with you, and thank you for joining us. So I'm Rich. I'll use my microphone.
So just a very short description of who we are as an organization. So ONWA is the oldest and largest Indigenous organization in Canada. And it's because we have a collective membership base. So we have over 30 Indigenous organizations connected to us. 13 of them are chapters, and so there are other Indigenous organizations running programming and services and community. And then we have grassroots Indigenous women as part of our membership as well. And so grassroots, women coming together to make change in their communities, to make the community safer for it to be an Indigenous woman. So we do that collective work, and we're also a frontline service provider, and then we're also an advocacy agency. And so we know this as Indigenous women. We don't stay within the box of here's your mandate, here's your school. We're like, here's our mandate, here's our school, right? So just a little bit about us, who we are. And I'm just curious before we get started, who here is this your very first CSW? Oh, congratulations, wow. Good stuff. So we're hoping to share a little bit about what we've learned in our time here with our presentation, as well as looking at how do we create safe spaces here at the UN for Indigenous women. And so we're going to have a little bit of interactive dialogue on that as we get started. Sorry, this light's kind of trying to be a little bonkers, but it's okay. I'm going to settle around. Nope. Maybe that's better now. I think I just can't. Okay, we'll try this one. All right, thank you. So I just wanted to first recognize the Homa people that were here that have welcomed us into their land and on their community. And part of what we've learned in our culture is that when you're sharing, we have this reciprocal relationship with each other. And so because you're here, we've provided you all with the gift of just that recognition for you being here in this space with us. And we're also going to start with our culture. And so we're going to sing a song. Yeah, well, you're not Tina. Anthony's going to come up and sing a song. Just I think see the panic on her face. So it's pretty all the stuff that I think's funny. I understand you're not. So the Anishinaabe song, if you would like to join in, we have the lyrics here. Feel free to. And so we're gonna get started. I'm not sure who's gonna do the teaching. Yeah.
So this is one of the first songs that I learned when we were at ONWA. We decided as a team building activity that we would make drums. Well, when you do that, you have to learn to sing the songs that go with the drum, right? So this is the song that I first learned, and normally we have Audrey and a whole group of us. There's like up to I think 30 people. This song in particular is about calling in the ancestors. So we're calling them in to help us to do this work, to help us help carry us as we're doing this work. So, Rich.
Oh, I should shut it off. Okay. Maybe you're going to keep it on for the people online. Oh, maybe. Yeah. And if you know the song, feel free to join in and sing it as well. Wrong end. I was like, just got back. Apologies. We'll start again.
So if anybody was seen us, we were drum practicing, we've never actually drummed together before. And so we did it, that's what we did in front of the UN. And we're like, I'm like, oh God, everyone's gonna think we're protesting. Just drum practice, UN, just drum practice. But we just want to get a really good shot in the background, so we can let's get a good picture. So I'll be quick for that. So this space here that we're creating is for Indigenous women. And so this space, we'll be practicing the 4 agreements while we're here. And the 4 agreements are from Don Miguel Ruiz. And so they're ancient Toltec teachings. And so these are the agreements that we practice as an organization in everything that we do. And so it always begins with being impeccable with your word. To speaking with integrity is the first agreement. The next thing is not to take anything personally. We're all here learning, and this is about restoring healing in our ways of being and knowing, and not to make assumptions. There's always finding the courage to ask questions, to be curious, and always do your best. And our best changes day to day depending on how our life is going and what our communities are facing or what we're facing. So every day, it's about we get up and recognize it. You're being your best self that you can be today. So I just wanted to say these are kind of the rules that we're going to follow for the session today. So thank you. Okay, why are we here? So we actually changed our presentation after anybody who was at the movie yesterday, Warrior Woman. We went back and I told the team, I'm like, so we're changing everything up. Really got inspired after yesterday. So really what we're doing is looking at breaking barriers for systemic change and creating seeds for change. Never underestimate the power of planting seeds. And so part of how our organization operates, and for the Indigenous women that are here and are running agencies, feel free to take what you need, leave behind what you don't. And so one part of how we've structured our work and how Indigenous women in Ontario have told us what we need to do is we have to address key issues. And so these are the issues that we address as an organization. And we always begin, we begin with Mother Earth, because this is where the violence began and continues for us. And then we go into the family violence, sexual violence, child welfare. They all intersect and are all interrelated, so you can't address one issue without addressing them all. And the way we address it is through multiple areas. And so in the inside of the flower, you can see we begin with research. We need to research what is going on in that issue, provide research with Indigenous women on what do they see as the issue and what are their solutions. And so we go from there into looking at, is there legislation that needs to change? Is there policy? Is there programs? Is there a gap in services on the ground? Do people need education? Community development is critical, building from community up. And then so all of it is on the foundation of restoring safety for Indigenous women. And so this is a bit of how we operate. And the 2 best examples I can provide was QR code here if you wanted to check them out. The first report over here is called Journey to Safe Spaces. And this is our Indigenous anti-human trafficking engagement report. We engage with over 3,000 Indigenous people, from community members to agencies, and over 250 self-identified survivors of human trafficking. So it's the largest engagement in Canada to date on this issue. And so everything we do as an organization is based on the expertise that came from this report. And the other report is our Reconciliation with Indigenous Women's report, and this is our response to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And it's based off of over 5,000 Indigenous women over 50 years of what their recommendations have been and continue to be. And 50 years later, it's still the same recommendations. I'm sure anybody's not surprised by that. So who defines the process? So this is typically when you're looking at policy, you're looking at, you know, the UN system, you're looking at all of these different systems. And so this was gifted to us from Joan Riggs at Catalyst Research and Communications. And she does a public policy course at, I don't know what it's called, former Ryerson. You know, if you change the name, I guess all systemic racism's gone, so. I can't remember. Sorry. I was supposed to stay in here. Hope nobody from the former referred to Ryerson's in the room or online. My apologies. TMU, thank you. So typically, when you're looking at process, you know, this is the government top-down approach. So you have the government leading. There's jurisdiction. They start off with jurisdiction. I mean, it was like, who's got jurisdiction? Then they go into revenue. Then they develop government policies and programs based on their approach. And then you've got service and political. And then once they go through this cycle, then they get into community needs at the end of the line. So our approach is based on a community development approach. And we begin over here. What does the community need? It needs to guide for process for that systemic change. You always go back to community needs. For us, our community is Indigenous women, and so what are they telling us that they need directly? We're not the experts, they are. Like even us being Indigenous women in our organization, we're not the experts. Indigenous women community are the experts. So we begin there, and then we start to look and infiltrate and disrupt the system by beginning always and pushing. And because of that, it takes about 10 years, we've been finding, to make change on what Indigenous women say they need. So we began talking about violence against Indigenous women back in, actually, the Breaking Free report, 1989. And then in 2007, we had a summit, a summit on violence against Aboriginal women. And 100 Indigenous women came together, gathered on what policy we wanted to see change. And then fast forward 10 years after that, the Ontario government launched I don't know what strategy was, something together strategy. Walking together strategy to address violence against Aboriginal women. The outcomes still weren't connected. Unfortunately, implementation, they're finding that that's a policy issue from what the community said they needed. And then you get a strategy, but then implementation, there's still barriers there. Okay, good. Pass this one over to Ingrid.
Thank you. So our next slide here is of the turtle. So what we've done is we've based our Indigenous gender-based analysis on the turtle's back. Recognizing that from the turtle's back we have the 13 moons, and each area covers an area that we work towards. So centering Indigenous women's safety, restoring roles and responsibilities, investing in Indigenous women, reclaim and restore the role of mothers, invest in healing, restoration of inherent rights, restoring balance in community, addressing gender-based violence, and move beyond system to justice and policy and research capacity, education, learning the truth, services and systems that Indigenous women navigate, and accountability. And these are the 13 recommendations that came from our Reconciliation with Indigenous Women report. So recognizing that for Indigenous women, we're not always just dealing with one system. We may spend a lot of time in the area of health or, food security, but these areas always intersect. Indigenous women are having to navigate these 20 systems on the outside of the turtle's back. They navigate them daily, and depending on their experience and what they're doing or where they've been, they're definitely having to navigate multiple systems at different times or throughout their life, or and it could change, right? So this work came to us from some knowledge holders that were working with Joan Riggs, and they gifted us this work as well. And it really aligns with us being able to recognize where women are at and what they're experiencing and having to work with And then sometimes what we'll do with this, there's a ringing here that's kind of
That's
disrupting.
that microphone.
Hello? Oh, that's better, sorry. I thought, oh, I echo in my own head. This can't be good. It's like, I need to stop talking. Do I just drop the mic? So I also like to make fun of everything, so. And sometimes people don't know when I'm lying, and I'm not lying, I'm joking, so I get myself in trouble there too. But one of the things in research that we did with the child welfare, what was that? Engagement. So we engaged with Indigenous women in Ontario around child welfare and their experience. And then we used the APA, this framework, to hang the data from. So we were able to use it in that way. And so being able to use this as an analysis tool in some of our work is really amazing as well.
Yeah, and then it's, you can see from the head and the feet is about our different roles we have as Indigenous women. So the head is creator's purpose for us, and the tail is community needs, and then the four paws is about, we have our responsibilities to ourselves. Everything begins with self. We need to be healthy and well in order to care for our family, our community, and our nations. So this is about restoring balance. So we're always moving as a turtle would in all those directions and navigating all our different roles and responsibilities. So I'm going to play just a quick, next is a video on what we built this for, recognizing being in this space, and particularly if you're new to this space, we really want to start to activate Indigenous women in international spaces and kind of figure out what the UN is all about and how to use it to push forward what you want change for. So this is the beginning of hopefully a series of videos around creating toolkits to support Indigenous women in the space.
Globally, it's very important for ONWA to be included and to move forward on an international level. So Indigenous women are acting and creating the change they need to see in the world.
I don't know that if we ever went back to say other women that had worked for the organization previously, did you ever imagine us at the UN? And I don't think that would have been something that they ever saw possible, and yet it's happening.
It was an amazing feeling to walk into the UN building. My passion for the work that we do was amplified by being in the presence of people who inspired me.
One thing that we have worked over the time is that international advocacy is an option. I don't think a lot of people realize it's there. What is your purpose? What exactly do you want to do is question one, and then you can start to plan around how you're going to use these international mechanisms to further your advocacy efforts.
I think about the work that we do when we go to these international events, such as the United Nations in New York or Geneva. It's important for us to represent ourselves and speak for ourselves.
Building those relationships with other Indigenous women and organizations from around the world and finding commonalities and ways forward.
I think we're looking at Rwanda. It's so unique, the situation that's happening here and how they're recovering from their genocide. And in Rwanda, we're hearing about how in terms of women in decision making, that more than 60% of the parliamentary seats and 46% of cabinet positions are occupied by women. We in Canada still have a long way to go to advance gender equality for all women in Canada. We cannot leave Indigenous women behind.
Cora, what is your goal for this conference? What do you hope to accomplish while you're there?
Looking to pass the torch on to Autumn and other youth, I think is one part of the goal. We made a commitment to always bring and offer at least one space for youth every time we travel to do any of the international work.
The benefit for ONWA youth to attend these gatherings and these conferences is is an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to hear people's stories and to communicate what our issues and similarities are.
When we talk about opening doors for our young people, we took our youth board members there and they were able to speak and do interventions at this global level.
Listening to the youth speak was to me so powerful because it's their present and it's their future. And to hear them talk with such passion about what needs to get changed and what needs to be changed. And they're very forthright in what they want to say and what they want people to hear.
The youth are our leaders of tomorrow, and we as leaders today need to be able to make space for them, space for their voices, space for their leadership.
The ONWA leadership has been so amazing at intentionally creating space for youth at these forums. Indigenous women are the experts in their own lives and experiences, and we need to be the ones leading the way. We have the answers from working with our communities, from the knowledge of our ancestors that have been passed down generation to generation, and we know the way forward to create safer and healthier communities, not only for Indigenous women and girls, but for everyone.
I took experiences home that would make me a better board member because I realized that what we do here is important, but if we can expand what we do here globally and we can create partnerships and get to know other people globally, then we can share best practices, we can share policies, we can bounce ideas off each other, what works, what doesn't work. Being at the UN was just, as a board member, it was just one, and individually as a person, an Indigenous person, it was a very enlightening and humbling experience.
When we are in these spaces, we're learning about what's happening in other countries that could be useful for us, like how other countries are delivering healthcare services to women in community that we're not necessarily even thinking about. So it enables us to come back to our work here in Canada and say to ministries and governments and people that we're working with, hey, we could be doing this better, and here are some solutions.
There's fear that some people feel in traveling the world and experiencing it, taking chances to have your voices heard and reclaiming your voice. We do have capacity as Indigenous women. We don't need others speaking for us. We have the capacity, we have the skill sets, we have the knowledge, and now it is time. It is time for us as Indigenous women to claim that leadership space, to demand it, to take it, and to take the action with us.
Association gave me the opportunity to attend this event, and I'm looking forward to continuing this great work that ONWA's doing.
What was really great to hear and see was our community members and our board members and our senior staff advocating for changes on a global level for preservation of our heritage, our knowledge, our ancestral traditions. We need to get back to relying on those and using those to help Mother Earth heal itself for our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren.
It was a great message. We talked about language and how to, because I think that's what a lot of the communities are doing right now, trying to get their language back.
How are you as a youth member?
Yeah, it's so exciting to be here, and I feel like it's such an uplifting experience to be around such strong women. So that's been my favorite part of this whole journey.
My experience was amazing. I'm always honored to come and be a part of the ONWA delegation and to share Indigenous women's experiences and listen and learn about what's happening in other Indigenous communities globally.
How'd you like New York, Kitty? The United Nations.
Too big.
Oh, I love Carrie. She's so, she nailed it, right? You're looking at the system. It is so huge. How do you navigate it? And especially when you're looking at, there's 10,000 people at UNCSW this year. 10,000 people, and there's, a couple hundred, probably Indigenous people here, but collectively, we're stronger than them. That's my opinion, to be able to make a change. So we're looking at just, we have some tools that can support you in your international advocacy. So, everybody knows about the UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People. And here's an Indigenous gender-specific lens on how to apply UNDRIP to Indigenous-specific work. And so over here, we have here's our as Indigenous women, we have collective and individual rights under international human rights law. We are equal to all others. We have the right to self-determination. We have the right to self-government. So us as Indigenous women, we have a right to our own agency, and to our own community, and to governance. And so, to be able to kind of take a look at how to use this specifically for Indigenous. So you have this, as well as the next one everybody knows is the, next page, Jules. And then we also have the CEDAW General Recommendation number 39 on the rights of Indigenous women. And so I'm hearing a lot of advocacy this year on looking to push states to not only when they're recognizing it, but also invest in it, because that's the critical piece. You can have good policy, but if there's no investment in Indigenous women, where's the impact? That's the part of the issue that we're facing is on implementation once again. Okay, next. And so this is a bit about kind of where we're directing our advocacy. So this is the United Nations system. I'm assuming you must click it. I must go to the pieces. Yeah. Okay. So the UN it's so huge. There's so many different opportunities. It's huge to navigate. So strategically, we're here at the Commission on the Status of Women. Next. We're checking out the Human Rights Council because of the Universal Periodic Review. Canada is going to be under review. Expert mechanisms on the rights of Indigenous people, as well as CEDAW. And next. And also at the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. So strategically, these are the areas that we're going to tackle going forward. And so we've got work plans and strategies. What is our key messages? What is our interventions? So we already have our interventions prepared and ready to go to have in case we do have time and space. But even then, so we do have an intervention prepared. We had one prepared for yesterday. There was a forum on youth yesterday. And so our youth didn't get to speak. So Alana had prepared this beautiful, amazing intervention on behalf of Indigenous youth. And so I'm like, okay, well, we didn't get to do the intervention. There was no time to hear from youth on the floor. So we're like, you know what? Pack up the film crew. We're going to go back to the UN. This time it's going to be a little bit of a protest. And you're going to do your intervention in front of the UN, and then we're still going to do it, and we're going to share it out. So that's what we're building. So that, not taking that for it's a little bit of a disruptor. That's what I've been called lately. I'm kind of liking it, actually. Up next. So now we want to just take a little bit of time to hear from you. And so everybody's got paper and pen, and then online, I'd like people online, they can either draw and put a picture in the chat, or they can type it out. We'd just like to know, what does safe space look like for Indigenous women at the United Nations, and be able to draw it on whatever which way you like. And what we want to do is actually take this, and we want to create a visual of taking all the papers. Maybe we'll put them up on the wall to start, or maybe we'll put them out in front of the UN as another little protest. I better stop saying that. Somebody from the UN's going to be like, get her out of here. Or put it up on draw out Indigenous woman, IW at the UN, or something like that, to do that visual, and be able to amplify what we're hearing from here when we are talking to Canada around this is what Indigenous women want within this space. We really want to be able to take your wisdom and your knowledge and be able to amplify it into the United Nations space. And so we'll give a few minutes for everyone to kind of think about and draw what does safe space look like for Indigenous women here at the UN, whether it's CSW or CEDAW or the permanent forum. What would you like to see? So I'll give everyone maybe 5 minutes. I can speak to it because so that I'll be able to say to the here we are, we're invisible.
Also at this time, for everybody online, if you want to put your thoughts or your words in the chat, feel free to do so, and I will take note of those as well. Thank you.
That's what I'm reading about. That's what I see something in the chat. Sorry, I went to the basement of the church building.
I did too.
Okay, be together.
I slept on the train.
Also, when you're done, if you want to raise your hand, we'll collect them, or if you want to read yours out. And we want to collect them. And if you want more paper, just put your hand up and we'll give you more paper, because you can make multiple statements. The question in the chat, there's a question, will there be access to this presentation following the event? And yes, there will be. We will have it on our website at www.onwa.ca. And we'll also have a QR code at the end so that you can access it through there.
What do you say? Oh, I'm not telling them that. Apparently you don't have to say www anymore. Okay? Apparently I just aged myself, right? Like.
You can say it's on the line.
Yeah, it's on the line. It's on the internet. Oh my goodness, who knew? I didn't know that. Did you know that? Yes. You did not lie. Yes, I did. I'm like, oh, do I lie? Yeah. To make her feel better? If you're okay with it.
Still your seat after all. Camera died. Outside chance, but 3. 4 or 5. It's true.
So from online, one of the comments from UNFPII is safe space. The international stage would be making space for Indigenous women to take up space and be heard. Would anybody else like to share theirs?
Yeah, I said, mine is about respect and having rooms that are big enough. Like this room is fabulous, but some of the events that happened, within the UN building, we just couldn't get in. You know, and it left women fighting for spaces, giving up spaces to other women to be able to be in there in that space and participate. And we missed a lot, you know, by not having that. So it's so disrespectful to me to not create a space that's large enough for people that are interested in learning.
Anyone like to share? This is as far as I can get it.
This could be a future conversation too, but I'm interested in learning more about how you got your land back and working with the North Dakota right now, who were displaced out of Banff. Lots of lawyers.
Yeah. Go here and then you're the second one. And then you got a comment on
Kia ora everybody. Morena, Kali from New Zealand. For me as an Indigenous woman, and having met so many from around the world this week, I've been fascinated seeing everybody wears their clothes, their garments, their taonga and treasures. And for me, a safe space could be creating that space within the UN to share that knowledge with other women. So Whailoisa and I learned from a beautiful lady about their rugs that they wear, their whāriki, and what they mean, the materials that they use, the story behind them, and we've seen such amazing things. Like I would love to, I bet there is so much knowledge in your necklaces and in the earrings you gifted us yesterday, and that's where I would love to see, yeah, rather than sitting down and
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We do have our medallion, and so our medallion is our logo as an organization. And this one here, I was gifted when I went to Woman Deliver in Rwanda by a Kenyan woman. So it was so nice to see the work is so similar. Like when we've seen the beadwork and the woman, this is like the woman's economy over there, and so supporting all of the women as many as we could when we were down there, because they are the economy. And so yeah, this is just I'm honored to wear this.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Chandra Mother. Thank you for this invitation. I'm from Nepal and belong to Mother Indigenous people. I think for Indigenous women globally, and especially coming from Nepal, we do face a lot of intimidation and reprisals to be in this kind of spaces, and then sometimes a lot of threats, as well. So to have a safer space, to have that collective space of Indigenous women to be supported, to be trusted, and then feel that solidarity and that support is something I think very, very important. So thank you so much for creating this space.
Thank you. So back in terms of the comments about our art, our clothing, our beadwork, those are acts of resistance, and wearing them in these spaces is especially important. I'm sorry, I was looking for you to make eye contact. Where'd she go? So I do have a comment from someone online. So Kaylee writes, I would like to see our governments collaborating better to provide space for us to speak at side events, have dedicated side events for Indigenous women, ensuring side events are held in rooms that allow a larger participation, opportunities for us to connect informally and share our stories, best practices, and innovations. Thank you, Kaylee.
I think a safe space would be, and this is my first time here, so maybe it exists and I don't know.
Yeah.
A place for Indigenous people to smudge in the morning before everything starts, or you could pray, gather as a group, and just to be able to be together.
Anybody else?
I'll read yours.
My name is Jessica Gordon. I come from Canada. I'm Korean Anishinaabe. I love that we're all together. I feel that we need more side events. I feel that there's a wasted opportunity during this time that we do not have enough space to show who we are, the fights that we're struggling with, the things that we have to say and the solutions that we have. I think an Indigenous caucus would be helpful too. I'm not sure, this is my first time here, but I think an Indigenous caucus would be very helpful. I did throw up a few up there as well, but thank you for hosting this.
Hey, Grich, thank you so much. And I think an Indigenous caucus is a fabulous idea. In regards to the comment about smudging and stuff, we do have a smudge. We can't smudge in here, but if we want to at the end of this, we can go have a good smudge together, which you're all welcome to join us out on the sidewalk. New York style. So I do have one more comment from the chat, from Linda. She writes, time and space to speak and be heard. Because that's what we come here for, right? And so, oh, I have one more from the chat that just popped up. Just loving this. Okay, so Sharon writes, representation, images, supporting and reflecting Anishinaabe ways of knowing, reflections of Indigenous women from around the world. Where is our representation? My daughter is a woodland artist. The UN contacted her and asked about her art being on display here, but did not want to pay what she was asking for. Disappointing. She is a young mother and this is how she makes her living. Tell her to contact ONWA. Okay, meet with Sharon.
So some of what we're seeing here, and I know there's one a bit of a political statement here. It's empty, and and it's blank because we're invisible, and so it's a pretty powerful statement, in my opinion, and looking at strength in our voices. Full visibility, being able to be safe and loved in a circle of women, being able to be cared for, and it looks like this is our ceremony happening where women are in a circle together, creating spaces for women to bring their crafts. That's a beautiful idea. Yeah. Imagine the economy we would build if here in the UN made space for Indigenous crafters and artisans. Being seen, being heard, and being valued. Space and time to be heard. Indigenous women should be given a space to meet as a group at the start and end to share our concerns. Give our youth and elders space to speak. A place where Indigenous women's voices are heard, respected, listened to, and invested in. Oh, somebody's a real artist in here. Language, diversity, space for dance, song, art, access. Oh yeah, imagine if we had like all of our cultures coming together and have a cultural night where we can share and everything that we're able to share those teachings and then share our songs. Did you see another one online? No. Okay. Space should be an expectation of normalcy, should not be a lottery. Beautiful, yeah, I agree. Being trusted, respected, heard, being able to be your own voice, I agree completely. An Indigenous permanent platform, voice at all levels, recognition that we exist, engagement, participation, action on the changes we want. Look at another artist, Indigenous woman, and then putting an Indigenous woman in front of the UN logo. More of us, a seat at every table, amplifying voices, allyship. Space for, actually this is a good segue into our next question. I believe it's like, is that the next question? Yeah. It is.
What, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
No, yeah.
So what does allyship look like for Indigenous women? And we actually have the Mentimeter for this one.
Yeah, if we can do Mentimeter, otherwise we'll.
So you have the QR code here. If you Sorry, we have the Mentimeter up in the next slide here. So if you take a picture of this, it'll take you to Menti, and then you can answer the question on your phone. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way, which I like, is write it on a piece of paper. As well, the people online, you're welcome to do the Menti as well. Or put your comments in the chat, and I'll read them out because I love doing that.
What are we gonna do?
And the information will feed into it, into how online develops relationships with others, how others support our work, and we'll share back with you. Just turn your mic on.
This is mentorship here. Yeah, what we're looking is it was a really good question actually at the side event we had where our youth had asked in our session on how can I be an ally? And then we were at there was a parallel event with Senator McFedrin, and in there, one of the comments that we made, one of the interventions we had made was, what privilege are people prepared to give up in order to make space for us? And so at the end of it, I actually had quite a few women came up to me, I'm gonna give up my privilege. And so I'm like, good stuff. And they're like, how do I do it? I'm like, I don't know, I'll get back to you. So what we're hoping to do is develop a resource around like, what does allyship look like, for Indigenous women, and be able to create that and then give it back to everybody here and be able to support and, because we recognize that there's 10,000 people here, and we could potentially have a lot of influence and impact by strategizing with everybody and be able to have, like, here's a one-pager on allyship that we need today, and being able to recognize that. So, anybody have any initial thinking and comments around what does allyship look like? Yeah. Non-Indigenous allyship. Yeah. What are you thinking? Thoughts? Commonalities
of history. Commonalities of history, i.e., like what has our history been like? Land taken, colonialism imposed, all of that.
Oh, there's another mic here. Or this one here. There we go.
Thank you. So yesterday I was at ONWA Fiddler from Thunder Bay, and I get to see them here in New York. I don't see them much at home. Saw them last year in New York. I think that's the last time I saw you here. but yesterday I was at sex and trans workers presentation, and they were talking a very similar conversation about what their needs are and advocating for their rights. And they say what we say, you know, nothing about us without us. And they said, we know what has to be done, and so just listen to us and follow us. They also said, give us money, because they don't have funding sources, particularly in you know, the continent of Africa, where it's becoming very illegal to be in the work or the lifestyle that they have. So, but again, that concept of nothing about us without us, and just to follow the lead of Indigenous people. Sometimes non-Indigenous people take up too much space in their allyship, and they think that they are doing us, you know, good. And I think there's enough of folks like yourselves that are leading the way and doing this brilliant work, and we can do it for ourselves now.
Anyone else? I just want to give a shout out to Kriya, because ONWA wouldn't be here in this space if it wasn't for them sharing their seats with us. And we don't have our eco-stock status, and so I just want to say, recognize Jackie, who's here with us, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So thank you, Kriya. Anyone listening online, I think Kriya needs to be part of the Canadian delegation. Just saying, next year, okay, I'm going to shout out again.
Just not being a bystander or being silent when things are said in spaces where Indigenous people are not, right? That you speak up and that you tell people, you challenge people in that space and be an ally in that way, because I think often the things that happen, it's because Indigenous people aren't there. And I've really been of this mind lately, and just in respect to women, but the tables aren't built for us. Like we're on these, you know, patriarchal colonial tables that weren't built for women, they weren't built for Indigenous women. We actually need a new table, right? That is built for us, that makes sense for Indigenous women, and to be a space where, you know, you are saying what it is that you need, as opposed to people trying to force you into their structures and make you kind of become part of that. So to be an ally is to walk that and try to help to create a space that is meaningful and respectful.
Well, that's why the equity frameworks don't work for us, because, you know, how do you have equity in a system that was designed to discriminate against you? You know, so we have to build new systems and new structures.
So Kaylee writes, allyship, privileged women who have the opportunity to attend CSW need to share their platform with Indigenous women. It should be equity focused, advocacy to amplify the voices that need to be heard. Indigenous women talking for Indigenous women, not non-Indigenous women speaking on our behalf. Thank you, Kaylee. I think about how important that is, and even in terms of our artwork, you know, our cultural items, but also our, you know, if you look at your bags, your gifts in there, most of the gifts in there are we procure those gifts from Indigenous women artisans and women making, you know, economy, you know, feeding into the economy. We're trying to support those businesses. So that too is another form of allyship. Don't suddenly start making candles on our behalf and indigenizing them, but, you know, support the businesses that are there. So. Oh, one of these, so we've been giving out, every year we come, we give out gifts while we're here. And so we had these gifts made by the Grassy Narrows Women's Drum Group, or not the drum group, but the women in Grassy Narrows. And what Judy does is she gets the youth in her community to make these. And when we make these purchases from her, she then donates it to other land defender groups that are happening throughout, you know, Canada. And so that she's supporting land defense and protecting Mother Earth by doing this. And we're supporting her and those youth in doing that as well.
Hi, I'm Marnie. I'm with the Voice of Women for Peace. I have been I'll probably be emotional, very privileged to spend most of the last 40 years running from Indigenous women. So to me, to be an ally has really changed depending on the women and the community that I've been working in. So to me, there's no one ally. It depends on what you need today, this week, and you have to be willing to change to whatever, because as you can imagine, the places and spaces and communities I was in 40 years ago are I lived in none of it most of the time, and my gratitude is so deep. My life would not be as rich as it was, as it is for our Indigenous women. And so like so many other non-Indigenous people I know, well, what do I do? I mean, first and foremost, you have to come with love. You know, if it's not coming from a place of love, you're not going to ever be able to be an ally in the way that women need us to be. So thank you. Thank you for today, and thank you for my life.
Big witch.
I'm sorry, I'm from Nepal. I'm Nati Sararai, Sakti Milan Samaj, but I'm not English speaker. Translate my friend. Okay. हाम्रो चाहिँ शक्ति मिलन समाज चाहिँ एचआइभी संक्रमित अथवा ट्राफिकिङ सर्भाइभर दिदीबहिनीहरूको अर्गनाइजेसन हो अनि हामीले चाहिँ 2-3 सामानहरू प्रोडक्ट गरेको छौं।
Namaste, I myself is Marche Grown and I represent Indigenous Women Legal Awareness Group and I belong to Guru Indigenous community in Nepal and she is from Sakti Milan Kendra, Sakti Milan Samaj, that is Sakti means power and Samaj means society and this organization is working for the anti-trafficking and HIV women who has affected and this.
Okay, हामीले चाहिँ अनि यो चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ जुत्ती बनाएको छौं त्यसमा चाहिँ ढाकाको जुत्ती र मखमलको जुत्ती बनाएको छौं। त्यो जुत्ती चाहिँ मैले ल्याएन किनभने सबैजनाको ठुलो खुट्टा हुन्छ तर त्यसमा स्याम्पलको लागि चाहिँ किरिङ बनाएको छु। यो किरिङ चाहिँ सबैलाई युज गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ अनि यो हामीले चाहिँ मार्केटमा बेच्नको लागि गर्दै छौं तर हामीले चाहिँ त्यो मार्केट पाइरहेको छैन हैन अनि हाम्रो चाहिँ इन्फेक्टेड साथीहरुले बनाएको छ मार्केट पाइरहेको छैन अनि सोसाइटीमा चाहिँ उनीहरुले काम गरे भने पनि त्यस्तो बेच्ने ठाउँ नपाएकोले गर्दाखेरि हामी चाहिँ एकदमै के भन्छ अलिकता कमजोर भनौं न त्यो काम गरे पनि स्किल चाहिँ बेच्न पाएको छैन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि मोटिभेट हुनु अलिक गाह्रो भइरहेको छ अनि यो सामान चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ सर्भाइभर र इन्फेक्टेडले बनाएको हो अनि यहाँ मैले सबै सामानहरु देखिरहँदाखेरि हाम्रो पनि यस्तो खालको छ के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा राख्न खोजेको।
Those products are made of velvet and this one is Nepali product, handmade product and they prepare for the sleepers and this is just a sample and those are prepared by HIV affected people and survivors means who are already trafficked sometimes in their life and they are they didn't bring any kind of sample shoot here but they have some skills like to prepare those keyrings and those shoes but they are they are not able to make it marketing because they don't know how to do the marketing of those products and even though they do have the skills but they are not able to sell it in the market properly so they are not so motivated by themselves even though they product so much in a mass but they are not able to sell it in the market and to make it marketing so it's a little problem for them. So that's why other people are showing these products. That's why she wanted to show this. She can, make the she can get involved and make a network so that she can sell those products to other countries and other friends, other organizations. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you so much for bringing this issue. And of course, definitely to to hear the voice of the indigenous people. We need to bring their voice to be heard, and also we need to bring them in the policy making, and also make them a stakeholder in every policy making and every projects they are doing in their community. Because while we like government implementing any kind of projects, those projects are like affecting indigenous people, their livelihood, their culture, their language. So we need them to get involved in every project, every policy making level. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
And I think we can, be great to get, this is a beautiful idea, and I had seen this in Rwanda. Oh, add it to our bundle. I'll get your contact information because I want to buy her now. And let's share it. And when we were in, Kenya, and we went to, I'm trying to remember the name of it. The woman there, strong. Oh, I'll find it. I'll look on my Facebook. But in there, what they were doing is the women were making all of their own crafts, and it was all like single women and youth and coming together. So they owned the entire store, and so what they were doing, and then they shared all the profits of the stores amongst themselves. So they all built. Everybody had their own responsibility in making everything, but all of the profits was shared collectively to all of the women. So I think it's a very innovative way of looking at, and this is an area of opportunity where allies can come in by supporting women's crafts. So I think we have the Mente Leader results. Okay, never mind. Here's the line. Okay, so the next one is like looking at, our last question is looking at how can we collectively amplify our voices here? If there's any ideas or thoughts on how do we, we've got lots of great ideas around, what does safe space look like? And do we build Indigenous Women's Caucus? We build an Indigenous Women's Forum where we can come together and do, for instance, got permanent forums coming up, and there's opportunities where we can do collective statements. So if we have multiple countries on a statement, you're more likely to get on the floor to do the statement. So how can we, collectively amplify it and support each other? Any ideas?
I think the answer is in the question.
The answer to the question?
Yeah. Collectivism. Relationships. Which is what we call them in Northern Aotearoa. So ensuring that we, as Indigenous peoples, are ensuring that our relationships with each other are strong and using our collective voices to lift that out.
Strong relationships and collective voices. Well said. I agree. I think that's part of who we are as Indigenous peoples. Like, there's so much similarities. I think similarities of experience, of our collective experience, that even you can see how colonization and patriarchy has directly targeted us. And I think that's what, the violence against us is different, so therefore the solutions are also different. I think sometimes people don't recognize that, we're specifically targeted for two factors, because we're Indigenous and we're women. And you can't remove one of those without when you're looking at the violence, but also when you're also looking at solutions. Any other?
I think for me, it's, I'm Tina Babinski, I'm from ONWA as well. For me, it's mobilizing. I know that's got like a sort of war connotation to it, but there is a war on Indigenous women happening. And so we've got to fight back. And so we mobilize and we be strategic together. And I think we do more of this. And I think we all agree we can do this collectively, but now we've got to put that into action.
Any final thoughts from anyone on what they would like to say in the space? So you have to be for the question. It's going to be like anything that anybody's thinking, like how did you find today? Was today a valuable session? Did you, because we are planning 2 events. Oh, go ahead.
No, you don't have to stand
Oh, so sorry. My name is Alyssa Carpenter. I work for a youth-led initiative called the Western Arctic Youth Collective. We're not an organization, we're a project. But like collectively, that's how we do stuff at home, so it makes sense here. And even just seeing that video, like I got emotional because like you guys were saying such validating messages that I hope other Indigenous youth can take and reaffirm of like, I feel the anti-love here. That's why I'm like crying because I'm so lucky who I came with because I feel like if I came a little less alone, it's so hard to navigate. But even here, like taking names of this and for the Indigenous Permanent Forum and just sharing, because we have the options for email and virtual, and there's things and advice you can give for those of us, and just reaffirm gathering in a space like this. Like I would have loved to do this like the first day, right? Or even prior, so people can be introduced, know each other, and even in the past and in navigating all the sessions, because I agree, it's heartbreaking when you can't go to one you were looking forward to. And that was almost every day, one session, it's small room or tech delays. But yeah, as a young person here who's representing a lot of young people back home, and for someone who is Inuit as well, like to see us here is huge. But yeah, if there's anything like what that video shared with me was like, you're here, you're helping create that space, you're encouraging us to be here, which was like the main thing I was asking this week. It's like, why do we come here? And this reaffirmed it for me. And like in other spaces that you recommend us going to or learning how to understand this very complex system. So if there's anything, it's just like offer that prior because you have that knowledge, right? And yeah, collectively, like I think we feel that in the room, and I think we can attest not just from my perspective of being from what's called Canada, but other countries as well. Yeah, bring the meeting.
So Kaylee, we have one from the chat, and Kaylee writes, Forum, Caucus, Informal Network, a collective narrative that we can use nationally in our countries to help advocacy internationally, particularly on the impacts of colonization that is a common thread that binds us. So, awesome. Thank you, Kaylee.
Yeah. We're already starting our work.
Hi, thank you. My name is Rukia. I'm very grateful to have grown up on the Coast Salish lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And I feel very grateful to be in this space right now. And I think your question is like, what's working? And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. And this is like one of maybe 2 sessions I've been to all week where there's active participation of the audience. And I'm finding it very frustrating in most of the sessions that I'm being in and participating in, quote unquote, where I'm watching people on a panel who are very, very knowledgeable sit and talk to us who are also knowledgeable leaders, and there's often no time for questions, or if there are, it's like one question and they don't answer it. So I think, like the fact that it's been like 45 minutes, an hour of active participation, because everybody in this room are leaders, and there's so many Indigenous women in this room who are part of this community, and so I just really appreciate being able to hear from so many diverse voices, and that should be what the UN is about in theory, but it's not, so.
So I wanted to go back and speak to the ally issue in terms of the U.S. And the United Nations. So I'm a member of CEDAW International. We are an ECOSOC NGO. I encourage all Indigenous women to look us up, join. We have 20 seats here every year. We could certainly help. I do think that you need to have a caucus and come as an organized group, but there are a lot of groups like CEDAW, the Sir Optimists are another example, that are global, who have a lot of seats at the table here who would be interested in helping. Thank you.
Hi again. Okay, so I think how to be more impactful, I think we have to be prepared. So many of us cannot travel to New York or Geneva or somewhere in the US. So I think come prepared and then having this consultative process with the other who could not be a part of it. So for example, in Asia, there is an organization called Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact who hosts Asia Preparatory Meeting. That includes the preparation for the UNFPII's CEDAW, CSW, MRIP. So that really brings the regional, perspective and also call for action and what kind of interventions collectively that Asia is making. I think that kind of preparation is very, very helpful. And at the same time, also like how we build allyship with the other non-Indigenous friendly, Indigenous friendly, non-Indigenous organizations or individuals that can be also, help to influence or amplify the voices of Indigenous women in these spaces. I think somebody mentioned about the caucus. I don't know, I think there used to be like, I've attended very few, but in women's major group used to be active in some of the spaces, but I don't know if it's there. So I think, I don't know, someone has to lead this process, but I think some kind of caucus, Indigenous Women's Caucus would also be helpful to really, bring that space and then collectively make interventions at the end. So that would be more impactful, more than working in silos.
We agree completely, and I think that's why we got people going around to collect everyone's contact information, because we're like, wait a second here, we've got this great, amazing group of women, and for those of you online, if you want to stay connected with us, we would love to maybe have a follow-up meeting or create like kind of like a chat group to begin to collectively come together. And so, feel free to add your contact information into the chat online. And I think Tina is going to provide the teaching.
Oh, I'm going to. Oh, sorry.
Never mind. I lied again.
So, here, I'll use my computer.
Hello again. So as we head into our closing, we're going to wrap up here, but we want to wrap up with another song. We're going to sing the bear song. And so the bear song is about healing. And that bear, I don't know if you have bears in no. There's a zoo here. You gotta go check it out. We have a whole bunch of bears.
Actually, before you do that, could you explain the significance of the turtle?
Oh, the turtle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In it.
So our turtle represents, so when we think about our creation story, the turtle was there. The turtle was our land. So the woman falls from the sky. This is a Anishinaabe teaching, right? She falls from the sky. We have 10 minutes remaining. Thank you. I think that was supposed to be all, incognito. I'm not good at that. I just saw a sign and I read it. But the turtle is Mother Earth. And she represents, that turtle represents who we are. And so, but we do have to, so this song is going to kind of take us to that place of healing, of moving forward. The bear comes as a protector, but also as medicine. He's that one that helps to heal us in those times of need. So that's why we thought we would sing the bear song. So, you bet.
Oh, I shut it off. Sorry.
Feel free to join in.
Yeah.
round of applause.